Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you a Templar build in Oblivion Remastered. This is somewhat similar to the Elder Scrolls Online class. It's a Mage Knight Healer hybrid class. Now I got some custom spells here like this one here, which we can shoot fire at them. It's kind of supposed to be a holy light since there's only 3 elemental damage types in Oblivion, and it'll also shield us. So you can see there we got a shielding effect by using the spell. So I tried to recreate some of the abilities that come from this class. If you've played Elder Scrolls Online, this is a healer, Templar, Paladin type class, so I'll be covering all of that in this video. Like this Adric Spear spell here, which says our holy fire damage and shields ourself. As well, we got ourselves a heal as well with the Restoring Light, which will heal ourselves for 10 points over 20 seconds, and at the same time apply a shield to ourselves. As for the best race, Breton is probably the best race. This gives you plus 50 magicka and a 50% resistance to magic damage, which is extremely valuable to have. Runner-up is the Dark Elf, which not thematically I guess, but it gives you destruction magic as a bonus skill. You also get a 75% resistance to fire damage. It's our holy or light damage in this game, as we can kind of roleplay that. They're very strong choice in Oblivion Remastered. You could also go with the High Elf to get a plus 100 to your magicka, but you do take extra damage from all elemental damage sources, so that is something to keep in mind. The Orc can work too. Some people may disagree, but this gives you 25% resistance to magic damage, and they're pretty good in kind of melee type roles. The Nord's another choice you could go with. They get the cold damage resistance, could work well here, but I still think the Breton is likely your best option. As for Birthsigns, you could go with the Lady here, giving ourselves an increase to our willpower and to our endurance. We're going to get more magicka, or more magical recovery, as well as more health, which is really nice. The Lord gives you to increase your armor rating, which is super useful early on in the game, and a 50% magic resistance, which could be very useful as well. The Atronach, if you really like this unique playstyle, it's probably the best here, because this gives you a 50% chance of absorbing spells cast you to use here, give yourself back magicka, and you can also increase your magicka by 150 points with this, although you don't regenerate yourself, so alchemy becomes a very important skill. The Mage is also extremely useful. This has got probably the biggest benefits, the lowest downsides. Plus 50 magicka. You don't take extra damage like the Apprentice. The Thief also is a decent choice because it gives you a plus 10 to your luck, which is just extremely useful to have, as luck is the slowest skill to level up. It takes 4 points per every 12 that you get a level up to. Level it up once. It also increases your speed and agility, so you could use short swords if you wanted to, but I think that bigger weapons make more sense. And the Warrior is another choice. You could go with endurance and strength increases are nice, as this gives you more health and more melee attack damage. I would say that the Mage, the Lord, the Lady, and the Atronach probably be the best if you like those. If you like the Atronach's playstyle. If you don't, the Mage is also great for that increased magicka, or the Lord for that extra damage reduction. There is no Templar class here, but there is the Crusader, which is kind of close, but it does give you Blade Blunt and Hand-to-Hand, which is kind of silly to have all 3 of those. We're going to make our own custom class. Now, the damage, or the specialization is likely best to be Magic. This gives a plus 5 bonus and increases it more rapidly, and Magic's going to be some of the best that we got. And especially in Oblivion, these are some of the best spells in the game. Now, for our attributes, I think it's best to build around intelligence and endurance. This will give us more magicka for spell casting, and endurance will give us more health. They're both extremely valuable to have, as we're going to be a healer kind of character and a damage dealer. I think these make most sense. So as you level up your endurance and your intelligence equally, so 5 points at each, and then put the rest of the points into your willpower, which will increase your magic recovery rate, and also gives you more maximum fatigue, which is very useful to have. So you can also stagger your intelligence and willpower, but always max out your endurance as quickly as possible. It gives you more survivability, which is really nice. Also put some points into your luck as well. And into our skills, I would recommend going with mostly magic here. So we're going to go ahead with starting there, and we're going to want destruction magic. This is our holy damage, so you can use fire as kind of a holy damage replacement, just as there's no real light magic in this game. Conjuration is the best skill in the game, I would say, because if you're using higher difficulties, they don't get the damage scaling that you get affected by, so they still deal with maximum damage, but we'll focus on that one later. Restoration is another essential one, as we're a healer. We want to be able to heal ourselves, and that's important. I also think that going with mysticism can be an okay choice, but alteration is one that we want, because this gives walking on water kind of fun, but shielding yourself, this is a big one, because we want to be defensive as much as possible. There's a lot of skills that the Templar gets that relate to shields, so this is a good one to have. I also like to have alchemy, but we'll get to that. We'll likely have block and blunt. If you prefer blade, you can take blade, but Blunt weapons just fits that theme a little bit better, so you could also go with that. And we're going to go with heavy armor. Survivability makes a lot of sense. Armor can be a really good feat to take as well, as it's going to give us the ability to repair our gear really quickly, and getting that up to the maximum is important because then we can just use one repair hammer. So it's really down to using either armor or alchemy, depending on which of these you prefer. Alchemy will give you the ability to make health potions and magicka potions, which are really nice, but alchemy actually levels up really quickly on its own. Illusion can also be good with the ability to paralyze and charm targets, so this could be a useful one as well. But we could also just go with the armor here. This is going to give us a bit more survivability by repairing our gear. So that's what we're going to roll with. Alteration armor, block, blunt, destruction, heavy armor, and restoration. So when it comes to this class, we're going to be using a lot of different melee attacks here, but we also have our ones that are shielding us and applying fire damage to the target, so that's really nice. I'm using the Sinweaver weapon right now. It does apply extra fire damage and drain fatigue on the enemy. This can fit kind of thematically. I just pretend that the fire is holy damage on the enemy, and then you can just go ahead with casting this here, which will shield you. And then we also got a healing spell, which will heal over time. So I like to use a healing over time spell just because it's going to give us the ability to keep blasting away with our spells and having their shield up while we regenerate health ourselves. And then you can just go in and use your weapons. So I'm using the two-handed sword here, but we can also go ahead with a melee weapon too if you prefer. So if you're someone that prefers going with that, we have another weapon here which will drain health on the enemy so we can keep our health high. So that's another nice thing, is any type of weapon that recovers our own health. That's really useful here because the health recovery is kind of like the healing spells, just due to the limitations of Oblivion compared to an actual MMO like Oblivion or Elder Scrolls Online. It does have its limitations, and that's why we got to get creative with our spell making. So now one of the big spells that the Templar gets is the cleansing ritual. We can kind of do this ourselves by going with like a fortify attribute here, and we could go with an increase to our endurance, which will give us a better health recovery and more health. So that's an option that we can go with. You could also go with this is a nice one. So going a willpower on self here, and magnitude of 100 for, we'll go with like 15 seconds there. So we'll fortify willpower, and then we'll also use the fortify attribute on our endurance here, and then use this on ourself to a magnitude of 100, and we'll do that for the 15 seconds as well. So this is basically going to be a heal and recover our magicka, so we'll call it the cleansing ritual. You do got to get creative with some of these spells. So if we're in a situation where we're taking a lot of damage, we can literally just pump this up. You see there, our max health is recovering pretty quickly, and we also got an extra amount of health, so that's really nice. It'll also increase the amount of magicka recovery rate. You can see there it's ramping up, and that allows us to do some of our other spells here, like we got this actual healing spell, and then we can go with our other shield spell. So we got a lot of different ones there to keep us alive. This spell, as I mentioned, lasts for 15 seconds there. Combining this with an absorb health weapon, you can become pretty much unkillable. On the higher difficulties, obviously that comes into, it does change things a little bit, so that is something to keep in mind. But you can see there with our shield, our recovery, and the extra health that we get from this, we can actually be pretty offensive too, so that is a nice way to go about doing that. If you wanted to take it a step further, you could go with a increase to the amount of intelligence you have, which will increase your overall magicka, and you could even throw in the fortify magicka ability as well. But that's another choice that you got to make if you want to add that into your spell, because it will increase the amount of magicka cost of it. So that is the Templar build in Oblivion Remastered. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the subscribe button below if you haven't already, and I'll see you all in the next video.